very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News on MTV Sports. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Krishna Panitharatna.
3 Indian cricketers have been arrested over allegations of spot fixing in the IPL. The players S. Srisanta, Ankit Shavan and Ajit Chandila are all from the Rajasthan Royals team. Now we will have a comprehensive report on this story later on in the news, but let's start off with a look at the headlines. The TNA says that it will rally the people if the government continues to acquire lands in the north and east. Cyclone heads towards Bangladesh, at least 12 deaths reported. Voice Against Corruption organization says those who did not maintain buffer stocks of oil for the Sapugaskanda oil refinery should resign. And on Sports First tonight, Chelsea clinched the Europa League title.
People in Bangladesh and Myanmar have begun packing into evacuation centres while warnings have been issued to several Indian states in the wake of a tropical cyclone. Will this cyclone, which developed near Sri Lanka in the Bay of Bengal, have any further impact on the island?
Now, Krishni, before we head on to that, let's first take a look at the current position of the tropical cyclone. Now, international weather experts say that this cyclone started crossing Bangladesh's low-lying areas today, first making landfall in the Patuakhili district in Bangladesh. The cyclone, packing winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour, made landfall in the coastal area in Bangladesh and continues to move on. Meteorologists warn that waves could rise to around 5 meters as a result of the cyclone. Krishna, getting back to your question on whether Sri Lanka will be further affected by the cyclone, the satellite images that we have obtained via AccuWeather.com clearly show the current location of this cyclone. The cyclone has moved away from Sri Lanka and will have no direct impact on the island. However, the strong winds are now moving from a southwesterly direction to a northeasterly direction, and therefore we can expect strong winds today and tomorrow. The current wind speeds of 20 to 40 kilometers per hour could increase to 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, resulting in rough seas. Hence, it is important to remain vigilant. Now, let's quickly cross over to Bangladesh. The cyclone that made landfall in Bangladesh has claimed at least 12 lives. At least 1 million people have been evacuated from Bangladesh's coastal areas to more than 3,200 cyclone shelters.
The cyclone buffeted Bangladesh's low-lying coast, bearing down on the ports of Chittagong and Cox's Bazar as tens of thousands of people huddled in shelters from a storm the United Nations say threatens 4.1 million people. The UN warns that over 8.2 million people in Bangladesh, Myanmar and Northeast India could be affected by this cyclone. Winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour lashed the coast and whipped up waves with an expected 2.1 meter storm surge and heavy rain likely to cause widespread flooding. Authorities in Bangladesh moved residents out of low-lying coastal areas as the cyclone approached to within 800 kilometers. Quoting Bangladesh authorities, the BBC World Service reports that the danger level of the cyclone has been raised to 7 out of 10 for low-lying areas around Chittagong and Cox's Bazar. The Chittagong airport has also been shut down. In Burma, meanwhile, tens of thousands of Rohingya Muslims living in camps in low-lying areas of Rakhine state are feared to be at risk. According to the BBC, thousands of people living in the coastal areas of Myanmar have been warned to evacuate. Several Indian states have issued storm alerts and warned people to take precautions against severe weather conditions.
Well, we are now joined by a journalist from Bangladesh attached to the Daily Star newspaper, Zulfiqar Malik. Now, he has more details. Let's have a quick look at what he has to say.
But still we are waiting to get detailed information from remote areas in coastal belt. We have so many islands, small shorelands in Greater Chittagong and Cox's Bazar district. So these are very remote areas. So we came to know that this cyclone actually is severely damaged their houses in many villages and trees and agricultural land. Because the farmers, they had some crops on the land. Zulfiqar Malik, News First from Dhaka.
Now, a complaint was filed at the Criminal Investigations Department against the Department of Meteorology for naming the cyclone Mahasen. The complaint was lodged by the National Council for the Protection of Historical Irrigation Cultural Heritage.
Secretary of the National Council for the Protection of Historical Irrigation Cultural Heritage, Nimal Veeratunga, said that since the Department of Meteorology had proposed a name Mahasen for the cyclone, the department should apologize to the public for the insult caused at national level. King Mahasen is revered as a god in this country. However, a cyclone has been named after King Mahasen. We see this as an insult caused to the king by the Met Department. Issuing a communique in this regard, Director General of the Met Department S.H. Karyavasam stated that the cyclone that developed in the Bay of Bengal recently was named Mahasen based on the order of names in the list issued in 2004. The department also said that the cyclone was named not with the intention of tarnishing the history or heritage of the nation. The department noted that it regrets if any animosity was caused.
The petition filed by former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca against the annulling of his parliamentary seat based on a prison sentence handed down to him by a military tribunal was taken up at the Court of Appeal today.
The case was taken up at the Court of Appeal before a bench comprising of Justices Sixer Diabhu and PWDC Jatilaka. The case was postponed to the 23rd of this month to decide on a date for legal arguments. We have been coming for cases for the past 6 years. Some of the appeals are still being heard. We are punished after being falsely accused. I went to prison and I was released, but the appeals are still being heard. This is the situation in the country. We have no faith in what is happening. We know that there is political interference. Murderers, rapists and child molesters are being released. But a small child who commits a wrong is being sent to prison. We live in a country where there is no justice.
Meanwhile, police media spokesperson SP Buddhika Siriwardana said that officers of the Criminal Investigations Department recorded a statement from former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca. When inquiries were made, Fonseca said that officers of the CID had recorded a statement from him at his office in Kotte on the suicide bomb attack targeting him when he was the commander of the army.
Today I have to give a statement to the Criminal Investigation Department regarding the suicide attack which was launched on me in 2006, April, when I was the commander of the army. I mentioned during my statement that I am not going to confine and believe that only the suicide killer, the girl, lady, woman, and also a couple of low-ranking LTT cadres who were involved in that, like the handler of the suicide cadre, were involved in this. I don't believe that. I think there was a plan going far beyond that at a very higher level to plan and learn these attacks. I think those strong men in the government, most probably, the strong politicians, all these people most probably are behind in this conspiracy.
Taking a look at one of our headline local stories, the Tamil National Alliance emphasizes that if the government continues to acquire land in the north of the island, the TNA will urge the people to rise up against this move. Now, TNA parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran made this statement after a writ petition was filed at the Court of Appeal yesterday against land acquisitions in Walikhamam North and East in the Jaffna district. A writ petition was filed at the Court of Appeal by 1,474 persons against notices calling for the acquisition of land in the Walikhamam area in Jaffna for public purposes. The petitioners state that the purported notices on the acquisition of land are unlawful in that the said notices refer to, quote, regularizing handover of area on which high security zone Palali and Kankasanture is established, unquote, despite the lands within the area specified in the notice not forming part of any high security zone recognized by the law. The petition notes that with the lapse of the state of emergency in 2011, all previously existing high security zones established by emergency regulations also cease to exist. The petitioners point out, therefore, that no public purpose is served by the acquisition of any land in the Jaffna Peninsula. The petitioners state that the extent of the area indicated is a massive amount, constituting approximately 25.8 square kilometers, and it is therefore more than two-thirds the entire land area on which Colombo city, which spans an area of 37.2 kilometers squared, is located. The petitioners state that grave and irreparable loss, harm and damage would be caused to them and to the several owners of the thousands of plots of land situated within the specified area. The petition cites the land acquiring officer for Jaffna, the Minister of Land and Land Development, and the land survey officer of the Jaffna district as respondents. Meanwhile, Tamil National Alliance parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran commented on the issue.
Yesterday we lodged one application with 1,474 petitioners. There are more than 3,000 people have come forward, and in that we will try to stop this being proceeded. We will also do demonstrations, public agitations, and bring our people onto the streets and fight against this very unjust move by the government. Thirdly, we will inform the international community, particularly the UN and other agencies and other countries that have an interest in this matter.
Let's now take a look at the newspaper cartoon of the day.